Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Artist Over Actor. My name is Javon. I'm a full time voice actor in the industry. I've been doing this full time for 3 years, and I'm not just a voice actor, I am an artist. And that is what this podcast is here for. It's here to help all of those actors, voice actors, all the talent out there who wants to be more well rounded. This podcast is here to help you achieve just that. So stick around because today we're going to be talking about one of the biggest facets of acting, one of the pinnacles that everybody wants to reach for, and that is getting an agent. Today's episode is going to be a little bit of a winding story because we're going to be talking about more than just getting an agent. We're going to be talking about the paths to becoming an actor and some things that you can understand about how you can do this full time, make a full time income without necessarily going down the traditional path of being an actor. So, let's go ahead and get started with my path. My path was one of the, I guess you could say, regular paths of becoming a voice actor. Make a sample, make a portfolio, get online, start to get work. But let's go ahead and start to talk about how you can start to build your clientele. First and foremost, you wake up one day and you go, want to pursue this as your full-time job. Congratulations. Now, breaking into this industry is a very difficult thing, but how do you get started? Well, first things first, you have to understand what being a voice actor is. Let's talk about being a voice actor because, well, that's what I do mainly for my 9 to 5. It is using your voice to bring a script, piece of copy, a character to life, right? Number one is acting. Number two is voice. It doesn't matter if you have a really weird voice, a voice that's perfect for radio. If you can't act, if you can't convey a message, then you're not going to be picked up as a voice actor, right? So that's first and foremost, understanding truly what the definition of your job is. Number two, you have to understand that you need clients, right? You need someone to pay for your services. So, what does that look like? It looks like, are you going to just be connecting with them face to face? Are you going to be just reaching out to production companies? Or are you going to be going the online route where you utilize marketplaces such as Fiverr, Upwork, Via, or Voices 123, Baldango? There are literally hundreds of these websites that you can use. VO Planet, Twitter has a great, thriving, booming community of voiceover casting calls. There are hundreds of these websites that you can use. So, which ones are you going to use? Now, you decided that you want to be a voiceover artist. That is awesome. How do you get these clients? Number one, you need samples. And it's that age old question. Well, I need work in order to get samples, and I need samples in order to get work. So, how do I juggle this? How do I possibly do this? Well, it's all about creating samples on your own, no matter what you're doing. And this is a life lesson for anybody in the creative industry. I'm a musician, I'm a photographer, I ran a production company, I am a voiceover artist, obviously, and they all start out the same. The path to success is very similar if you're going in a traditional looking for clients routes. Make samples based on either free work that you do for clients or spec work that you create. And then you can pitch those samples to actually get work. Now, what does that look like? It's very easy when it comes to voice acting. Unlike photography, where you have to go out and get clients and then do like you have to use your family members in order to do model work or anything like that. Unlike video production, where you have to pitch a whole entire video shoot. With voice acting, it's just reading down some advertisements for your favorite brand. That's how I made my commercial demo reel. It's how I made my anime, my character demo reel. You literally just find pieces of copy. You practice them, you study them, you figure out how you want them to flow, you read them, you record them, you edit them, and then you post them into your portfolio. When you have a full portfolio of work, you start to show this to your clients. Now, go where your clients are. You always want to put your work where the eyeballs are, whether that be social media, whether that be LinkedIn, if that's where your clients mostly are, whether that be you cold contacting them. It's a very hard thing to do, but we'll talk a little bit about cold contacting. That's a question that I keep getting. What's the best way to reach out to people? And it's something that I'm currently in the process of doing. And I've learned a couple of tips, techniques, and tactics for best cold outreaching people where they'll actually listen to you and they'll actually want to start to work with you a little bit. So you have your samples. You put them on your online library. Congratulations. Now, I know what you're saying, Javon. What the hell does this have to do with getting an agent? Well, there are three paths in being an actor, an entertainer, pretty much anything that you want to do in the creative community, right? Free agent, you can work with online platforms, get an agent. There are pros and cons to each of them, so let's go ahead and go over each of them in a little bit of detail. Now, the story that I just told about creating your samples and putting them where the people are, that is working with online marketplaces. And in some extent, that's being a free agent as well, because you also want to show them examples, right? Now, working with online marketplaces is a touch easier than working with an agency, and you get a little bit more control. Now, the con is that there is a stigma attached. Now, let's go over this a little bit. Working between Fiverr, Voice Bunny, Baldango or Baldago, Voices 123, VO Planet, working between all of these platforms gives you an amazing chance of success because they all send you auditions. They all give you places so that you can audition for clients, and they all, to a certain extent, let you pick your rate so that you can make as much money or as little money as you want. Yes, Fiverr has the stigma of you're doing a job for $5, but that's not necessarily true. Most of the time, about 95% of the time, you can pitch the job for whatever you want. Like I always say, I've gotten a $2,500 job from Fiverr before. Like, it's not that hard. You set your own rates. Yes, there are clients who are looking for cheap things, but not all of them. And just don't work with those clients who are looking for cheap things. Don't pitch yourself at those cheap rates. Okay, so that's working with online marketplaces. The second option is to be a free agent. Now, what does being a free agent mean? Being a free agent means that you skip the agency route and you work one on one with production companies, production houses, video game houses in order to get on their own private roster. Now, a lot of the time, when it's for a faster project or maybe they don't want to work directly with an agency, you will get a production house that has an internal roster. And what that essentially means is, let's say Javon Henry starts making cartoons, right? Or I start directing cartoons for other companies, and I want to work with my own internal talent. I will simply give a call out to everybody in my network and say, hey, I've got a couple of projects that I'm looking for. I want a solid team that I know I can rely on and count on. Who wants to audition to be on my internal roster? You'll audition to be on my internal roster. And I know that whenever I have a project, I will legitimately just send an audition to you myself. Right. I'm cutting out the middleman of being an agency, but that means that I have to manage the relationship with my own talent. Now that has its own pluses and minuses, but this is the second step, so to speak, for a voice actor. All right. The second stage is saying, okay, I don't want to work with Fiverr anymore. I want to work on slightly bigger projects. So let me go ahead and start to get on roster lists. Now, here's the bread and butter of this. Two things. It's rather easy to do this. All you have to do is look for a production company, look for a video game house, look for an anime house, look for a company that you want to work with, and just see if they have their own roster. A lot of times, these casting directors, a lot of time, these production houses online on their website will have their own roster for you to be able to go and join. So it's literally just as easy as searching Animeplex, Animeplex internal roster of talent on Google. Boom, bam, bizzle. If it doesn't come up, look up a phone number, give them a call, and here's what you say. Hi there. I'm a voice actor, and I was just calling to see if you have an internal roster of talent. I'd love to audition for it. That's it. The answer is either going to be yes, or the answer is going to be no. If it's yes, you send in your audition, you send in all your information, and they'll put you on the roster if they deem that you are of a quality that reaches their minimum threshold for their roster. And that's different depending on each and every roster. Now, why is this a step up compared to more so working on online voiceover marketplaces? Well, this isn't a step up in terms of prestige, right? I hate when people put things in terms of some type of hierarchical ladder, right? This is a full-time gig. This is your job. If you enjoy voice acting, it is the same if you're doing it on online platforms as if you're in an internal roster, right? It's the same exact thing. So what makes this a step up? Well, the thing that makes this a step up to the next level is the types of projects that you're going to be working with, right? Everybody who's worked on an online marketplace understands the fact that you're going to be working a smaller scale of project when it comes to working online. A lot of low budget projects, a lot of indie projects, a lot of commercials, not necessarily what you want to do, not necessarily the animation or the anime or the video game that's going to make it into the limelight. There are some of these projects that come through, but they are more so the diamonds in the rough. They're more so the exception, not the rule. So if you find yourself saying, I want to work bigger projects, I'm making a full time income, but I want to work bigger projects, well, it would be about moving up to that next stage and working with rosters directly with that production company. Now, we talked about it, promised it. We're 10 minutes in. I haven't even said anything about agents. Why is this called Should I Work with an Agent? Well, this goes into the third rung, and that is working with that agent. Now, let me give you a grain of salt. I am currently in the process of auditioning for a plethora of different agencies, right? I don't have an agent at the moment. I'm talking from interview experience where I've interviewed other people who do have agents so I could see the pros and cons, a ton of research so I can see if this is where I want to put in my life, because there are some pros and cons that come with getting an agent, right? Let's go over the cons before we go over the pros. Number one con, they take a portion of your money. Obviously, when you're working directly with a roster, when you're working with online marketplaces, online marketplaces take a cut of your money too, but you can bake that in. An agent will take a portion of your money. It's usually 10 to 15%, right? And they take that off the back end. They don't charge you up front. If an agent charges you up front, it's a scam run. An agent will take the money off the back end. It is their job to sell your voice for a big project, right? So understand that right off the bat, you're losing about, I'd estimate, 15%. That's number one. Number two, it does limit you in some regards. Now, working with an agent is not like signing an exclusivity contract. If they have you sign an exclusivity contract, understand that you need to be putting in a lot of stipulations that make sure you get your worth, your money for signing that contract. But just if you're young, if you're in the beginning stages, don't sign an exclusivity contract, right? You can sign up with a bunch of different agencies. It is a very strategic plan, right? Sign up with an agency on the West Coast and on the East Coast. That way you get a range of different jobs. Anyway, it does kind of limit your scope on what you'll be able to do online. Now, what do I mean by that? If you sign up for a huge agency, I can almost guarantee you they're not going to want to see you working on an online platform like Fiverr. They're not going to want to see you working on an online platform like VO Bunny. They're not going to want to see you work on these online platforms because you're working now with a nice, exclusive, wonderful agency. And there's nothing wrong with that. But they don't want to pull you or you to be pulled in a million different directions. And they sure as hell don't want to see a huge executive from a huge company that goes through an agent exclusively. And one day they're just on Google, they search your name and they see you on Fiverr. And they see, why did I pay $500? That's a nightmare. So it does limit your ability to work online. Does it remove it? Absolutely. If you work one-on-one with a production company, right? They care if you work with online platforms that don't necessarily carry the best name and that do carry that stigma. And let's wrap back around to that. It is the truth of what it is. A lot of these online platforms carry a stigma behind it. Now you can make a full-time income and you can work your way around the stigma. But if you're in a lot of voice acting communities and you say, hey, I do a lot and get a lot of gigs on Fiverr, a lot of people will be like, ooh, how do you do that? And a lot of people will be like, oh, you're ruining the industry, right? This is a very, very biased community when it comes to online platforms and online work, because in some sense, it is lowering the threshold when people sell their services for $5, right? That's why I stick closely to the GVAA rate, an amazing tool. Just Google if you're ever in question of how much do I charge for a service? How much do I charge for a gig? What's the industry rate? Just be sure to look up the GVAA guide, and that will give you all of the information that you need for how to charge your services, what rates you should actually actively be charging for. Now, wrapping back around to the agent, we were on the cons list. The con was it might limit you from what you can do online, right? Let's go back over to the pros. The pros are it unlocks a door for you, right? Here's the sad truth about it. And it's not really sad, it's a necessary truth. There is still positive gatekeeping in the industry. Now, gatekeeping seems inherently negative. How can it be positive gatekeeping? Or isn't that oxymoronic? No, because let's say I'm a casting agent and I'm casting for a huge production that's about to come up, right? On the back end, they don't give us enough time for this stuff, right? If I got a project and I got a cast, it might be a multi-million-dollar project where I'm looking at it like, oh, they've got plenty of time to find their talent. They want to find the best person. No, typically they have maybe a week or less to cast for these projects. It's ridiculous. It's not how it should be, but in a lot of the cases, it is how it is. So they can't do an open casting call. Right? Yet an open casting call is when you just open it out into the ether and you say, hey, I have this. I need this type of person. Everybody come audition. Everybody who sees this and wants to audition, come audition. And you'll be flooded with thousands of submissions, right? And then you have to dig through each of those submissions. It's great for finding a diverse, wide range of talent. You can add them to your roster for later callbacks or things like that, but it takes a lot of time, energy, and money. So what's a company to do? Well, a casting director or a company will send that audition directly to an agency. Well, they won't even send it directly to an agency. They'll post it directly to an agency only audition website. Now, what is this? It's just like Backstage, just like Voices, just like Fiverr. It's just like all of these websites, right? But it's only exclusively for agencies. So you cannot sign up unless you are an agency or an agent. You cannot see these exclusive casting calls. A lot of the most exclusive casting calls that we as actors, as artists say, oh, we want to be a part of these projects. They are hidden behind this wall, right? Unless you have an agent, unless you're part or unless you have an agent or you are signed with an agency, you cannot audition for these jobs, irregardless of what you do. I mean, you can get in with the casting director directly and try and like wiggle your way in that way. That way you don't have to work with an agent. And there is a possibility for doing that, right? That's being a free agent. All an agent does is cultivate trust within the entertainment industry. So all your agent or agency does is have a proven track record of only providing successful, smart, and capable talent time and time and time again. And also have the industry connections so that people will talk to them. You can do that. You can work directly with a production company, directly with a casting director, and show them time and time again that you are successful, smart, willing, ready, and absolutely amazing at your job, and they will be able to call on you directly, right? It's just about cultivating relationships. That's what an agency or an agent has done. They've cultivated a lot of these relationships for you so that people trust them to say, Javon's going to do a good job. And they say, I don't know who Javon is, but I'll give him a shot because you said he'll do a good job. That's what an agent does. So, should you get an agent? I'm not going to answer that question for you. I'm not here to tell anybody what they should do. The only thing that I do is give an example of my path through the entertainment industry, how I became a full-time voice actor. I will say I'm working currently to get an agent so that I can have that broader reach, that broader impact, right? And if you want more information on how I am reaching out to people, how I did get the skills and the confidence to be able to say, it's time for me to get an agent, I'm going to start reaching out. Down below in the description, I have my Send Owl links. These are free resources such as how to get started as a voice actor. This is a book. It's like a 20-page mini book that I wrote out to help you guys understand my path and the tools that I needed and the tools that I used to become a voice actor. There are 12 guideposts to breaking down any script so that you can get a script in your hand, read through it, and understand, oh, these are the character's motives. This is how they feel and communicate with this other character, and a bunch of stuff. So they are all down in the description below. If you haven't checked that out, go ahead and look in that send out link down below. Everything there so far is free. So I hope that you guys enjoy. Okay. Now, here's the secret tip that I learned from my mentor about cold calling and cold contacting people. And this is worth its weight in gold. When you reach out to somebody, right, you don't want to try and sell them your services, obviously. It's just the same as you going into a store and somebody out front trying to sell you something. Unless you want something, unless you're prompted with something, you don't want somebody to try and sell you something. Right? The people who you're reaching out to on the other side, they have no idea who you are. They're not going to trust you initially from one email, right? So if you're not trying to sell them on the first email, if you're not trying to get them to put you on a roster on the first email, what are you trying to do? Well, number one, you're trying to ask them if they even have a roster. But number two, you're trying to build intrigue and interest, right? You're not trying to tell them your life story. You're not trying to sell them in that moment. You're not trying to even let them necessarily know who you are. What you have to understand is that 95% of the time, when you, an agent, anyone receives an email, they are either just waking up and looking through their emails and they think, okay, I have 50 emails to go through. What's this? What's this? What's this? What's the important? And then what is the random? Or they're out and about and they get an email in the middle of the day. Maybe they're out to lunch, maybe they're on a golf cart. Who knows where they are, but they're not necessarily sitting at their desk. We send emails like people are sitting at their desks and they're going to open all of them and they're going to read all of them and they're going to respond to all of them. And that's not the case. So what do you do? Well, on the first contact, if you're not trying to sell them immediately, what do? You're trying to build intrigue. What you're trying to do is you're trying to get them to have a question that they want to ask you, right? And this isn't by being shifty. This isn't by being tricky. This isn't by being like slithering your way into these questions. It's literally by understanding who you are speaking with. Do some research to understand, okay, I want to work with this production company. What is the work that they have done in the past? Why do I want to work with them? It's not just because it's their name. It's not just because it's Aniplex. It's not just because it's Crunchyroll. It's not just because it's a subsidiary of the Sony Corporation. It's because you genuinely are passionate about their projects. So research that a little bit. Open with, hi, my name is Javon. I'm a voice actor. I loved your work with this project. Nice, short, sweet, simple, to the point. Let them know that this isn't just a mass template. Nobody wants to be contacted with a mass template, right? Personalize each and every contact. Personalize them all. That means you have to do your research. So you've personalized it. Hi, my name is Javon. I loved your work with such and such production. It was incredible. That's it. Just nice 3 sentences. You don't want to make a story. If you make your email too long, someone will open it and go, oh, this is too long. I'll get back to it. And they'll either forget or it'll take a long time. So keep it nice, short, sweet, to the point. After that, I'd love to work with you and join your internal roster if you have one. I've worked with these clients in the past. Load up your client list. I'm saying, I don't mean load it up as in put like 17 clients. Put your top 3 clients, right? Let them know, boom, bam, bizzle off the bat. Javon, liked your work. Want to work with you? I've worked with Disney, Marvel, I've worked with Sony, Spotify. Load up your client list. And I already know what a lot of you are thinking. Well, I don't have these big clients. What am I supposed to do? You're supposed to work until you start to get some names under your belt. And this can be done from working on online platforms, right? A lot of these platforms do host larger clients, such as Sony, such as I've worked with Reese Witherspoon. I've gotten video game contracts. I've worked with Marvel. I've worked with a lot of these companies on these online platforms. All you have to do is put in the legwork to know who you're working with. And that can be very difficult because some of these online platforms do mask who the client is, which is rather unfair, but they don't want them to work directly with you. So it might just take a little bit of research, but understand that a lot of the time you are working with rather large clients behind the scenes. So after you get through those couple of sentences, not paragraphs, sentences, write down your client list. All right. Who are these big names? After that, your equipment list. The two things that a client is looking for is social proof that you have done the job and worked with people who they know. Number two, that you have the equipment to do the job, right? So what you need to put after that is your microphone, your audio interface. Once again, short, sweet, simple. Microphone, audio interface, your DAW, which is your digital audio workstation. I'm talking if you use Audacity, if you use Pro Tools, and if you use Source Connect or not. So that way they know, okay, I can do a live session, right? Also put your location. Are you West Coast based? Willing to travel into the studio? That is it. I look forward to hearing from you. Hope to work with you. Now, here is the bread and butter when it comes to you reaching out and contacting. This isn't just for production companies, this is also for agencies. Do not be simpering. What I mean by that, don't come from a place where you're trying to reach up and grab them and ride their coattails and pull yourself up. Understand that they are a peer inside the industry, and that is what they want to feel like. There's nothing worse than you speaking with someone, right? And you come from a position where it feels like you're just trying to get this thing, right? I'm an actor who just needs a shot. If you just give me a chance, I know that I'll be able to get there. Yes, sometimes that works. Don't get me wrong. We've all been in that position where we just desperately feel like we just need a chance. We just need a shot. If they just give us the opportunity, we will be able to do it. And that's fine. We're all in that position at points, right? That's how we grow. But when you're sending an email, don't position it as if that is the thing. You don't want to position it as in, I need your help. Can you help me get here? You want to position it as, hey, I've worked with a lot of people. I'd love to work with you as well. That completely flips the switch from, oh, I need to train this person or I need to help them or this is like a mentorship thing or they're new into the industry and I can't take a chance, directly to, oh, they have experience. They've done this 100 times before. Oh, I would be lucky to work with them in my internal roster. And once again, that is not only for if you're trying to get onto a production company's radar or work directly with a casting director, that's also for if you are attempting to work with an agency. The way that you contact them is the exact same. Hey, what's going on, Kato? Hello and welcome back. Hey, Jay, do you recommend putting your demo in the introductory email? She just asked if you're accepting them first. Sorry if you already answered this. I just joined. Not a problem, Kato. That is a great question, and I did not answer it. And the answer is yes. So here are a couple of slick things that you can do, right? Um, there are a lot of back and forths about whether or not you should be putting your demo in your introductory email, right? Number one, there are a couple things that you should know about this. If you're going to put your demo in, which I do all the time, there's nothing wrong with it. Make damn well sure that you put it in as an attachment to the email and not as a link that sends them somewhere. Right? There's nothing weirder than getting an email from a random person and then there's a random link that they have to click on in order to go to your demo. Now, there is an exception with this that we'll talk about, obviously, but make sure, like, if you're sending it through Gmail and you attach it directly, all they have to do is click on the button and it will come up in the email and they'll be able to listen to it from there so that they get that information, they get that soundbite. So just make sure that you do it as an attachment versus doing it as a link. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If they want to listen to it, they'll listen to it. If they don't want to listen to it, they won't listen to it. Now, the other thing that you can do, here's a little bit of a trick. You should be having a signature at the end of your email. A signature is essentially just like a sign off. So like, sincerely, Javon, voice actor. You should in your signature, or you can in your signature, include links that will take them to places, and you can name these hyperlinks. So essentially what this means is on the bottom, and I'll figure out some way to provide this. Maybe in the community tab, I'll just take a screenshot and I'll post a sample of what my actual signature is for my email. So if you're watching this and you're not signed up, make sure to go over to the community tab so you can check out what I'm talking about. Um, on your signature, make sure to leave your website, your social media, right? And that way they read through this email and they have a question. They think to themselves, oh, Javon has worked with Marvel before. That's pretty incredible. They know who I am. They've cited my work. That's pretty great. They have all the equipment to do the job. That's amazing. I've listened to their demo reel. That's awesome. Now they have intrigue. They have questions that they want answered, right? And this is just off a like a glance, right? Your email should literally be able to be read in a glance. You have those 3 sentences saying, "Hi, this is who I am. I love your work. I've worked with these people." Bullet points, bullet point, Marvel, bullet point, Sony, bullet point, somebody else. So I've worked with these 3 people. I have this equipment, bullet point, microphone, bullet point, digital audio workstation, bullet point, um, audio interface. I'd love to work with you if you have a roster. The end. They should look at it and go, oh, that's who they are. Oh, there's a demo at the bottom. Huh, let's take a listen. It's probably quick. Click it. They listen to it. Oh, there's something that I like here. Now I want more information, right? They should be able to say, I want more information on the first glance of your email versus going, this is too much information and I don't know who this person is. That is a turnoff. They won't read the email. And that's just the short, like agents and production companies and casting directors get hundreds of emails a day saying, I want to be on your roster. So that's how you stick out. Anyway, with that signature, with having your website there, it's going to allow you or allow them to say, oh, I want more information. Click on your website, and now they have all of this information. They have everything that they need at their disposal. They can see your about me, get a better idea of who you are as a person. They can see a wider list of your clients. They can see a wider list of your demos. They can see any testimonials that you might have. And this isn't exactly the podcast to go over what your website should look like, but let's just say it's still important to have a website in 2023 just as a central portfolio for your work. Not only that, but apparently it's important to have business cards as well in some way, shape, or form. I went to a couple of conferences recently, and I can't tell you the amount of people who are still trading around business cards. Just so that they can have an easier way to get your contact. I have the dot card, so I can literally just hold it up to their phone. If they have NFC, they'll get all my contact information, but just some way so that you can easily trade information when you are actually conferencing and connecting with people live. Kind of important. But yeah, that's pretty much the secret when it comes to cold calling and cold contacting. Um, just make sure that it can easily be read in a cursory glance. Now, if anybody has any questions, go ahead and leave them down in the comments below. I'd love to have any questions for the end of this topic, pretty much. What do you recommend putting in the subject line? This is something that I go back and forth a little bit about. When I'm doing the first contact, I try and make it as YouTube clickbaity as possible. And what I mean by that is now there are a couple of different types. It depends on the type of company for. Like obviously I wouldn't do this if it were like an ebook company. Very different. But I work a lot with character companies, with video game companies, so it can be a little bit more bold, a little bit more on the nose. So I usually do something like dynamic voice, dynamic, energetic voice. I want to work with you. Something like that. Something that gives a little bit of an adjective that describes why you're reaching out to them, yes, but also gives a little bit of a flair and a flavor of what makes you necessarily not special, but different. So something like, let me pull up an email that I sent off actually in real time here while we're talking about subject lines for these emails. I found a couple that really do hit home when it comes to me sending off for clients here. Dynamic characters, powerful voice. Let's work together. Boom. Right there. That is the subject line that I use when I send off to a lot of video game production companies, a lot of production companies that do character work, animation, anime, dynamic characters, powerful voice. Let's work together. And that it's not necessary. It doesn't blend in with all of the usual, hey, I'd love to work with you. Hey, can we work together? Hey, do you have a roster? That is kind of like a bold in your face. This is what I am. I'd love to work with you. Right. And that's essentially what a subject line is made for. Right. You have to craft a subject line so carefully nowadays to the point where it does become a sticking point, kind of like a YouTube title. So, what I suggest and recommend, I hope that answered your question, but just TLDR it. What I recommend is putting adjectives of yourself, your voice, what you do, and then end it with the fact that you'd like to work with them. So, something like energetic voice, high strung characters, let's work together. Something that just stitches those things together and tells them that you want to work with them, but also lets them know the fact that you are professional. You have these characters. Now, there are also a couple of different types of subject lines that you can put in, right? You can say something, all that you need to know is that your subject line should build the intrigue to get them to open that email. So you can even put something as simple as Marvel voice actor wants to work with you. Boom. A voice actor from Marvel wants to work with us? What is this? Boom. Right there. All you need to know is build that intrigue. You don't want to lie. You want to have the credits to back up what you're saying. But boom, just think about that. If you were to receive an email, like let's say you receive 10 emails a day, all from voice actors who want to work with you, and they all say essentially the same thing like, we want to work with you. Looking for work. Do you have a roster? And then it says Marvel voice actor wants to work with you. That would probably make you click and open that damn email pretty quickly. Hello did answer it. It was right on time. I've been looking into cold email marketing all week. Perfect. Well, this is the perfect video for you. This was actually a perfect one because I've been doing cold outreach for the last 2-3 weeks now because I'm building my internal list of clients before I work with my agent. So if you have any questions on that, that's actually a pretty good thing that I might end up making like a template for cold outreach for and put that in like the Send Owl or something. Maybe I'll just post that on the communities tab. So if you're looking for templates, make sure to join, go over to that communities tab. I'll probably post some templates on there of what I've been doing and how I've been getting a lot of emails because I've been sending out dozens of these cold contacts and some of them great, some of them have not. So that'd be a pretty cool thing to do. But yeah, I think we really covered today why you would want to get an agent and understanding that that is the reason why working with an agent or working with an agency is considered to be the pinnacle of acting. Not only acting, but being an actor, being a musician, being an artist, a painter, a photographer. Why do so many people talk about working with agencies? It's because it allows you access to work that you wouldn't otherwise be allowed access to, right? No matter how hard I pound on that door, unless I get with an agent or an agency or spend months, if not years, networking in the right veins, I'm not going to have access to a certain caliber of project that I might want to work without that agent or that connection. So that's the reason why so many people want agents. Now, once again, should you get an agent? That's up to you, right? If you're making a full-time income online, full-time income, and you don't want to give that up and you don't mind the projects that you're working with, then no, maybe you shouldn't get an agent because an agent in some cases might make you give that up, right? An agent in some cases might say, I don't want you working on these online platforms anymore. And then at that point, you have to understand that it is a risk. You have to know that you will lose that source of income and hopefully gain clients by working directly through your agent. So understand that that is a huge trade off. And that's a trade off that I've personally been working on myself. As animator, I work with a lot of agencies and not with final businesses, as agencies will always get a few more clients than I can do. Exactly. That's another thing. That's a very, very good point. A lot of the time, agencies have these relationships that A, took years to cultivate, and B, you would not necessarily be able to cultivate in any way, shape, or form in a timely manner. Like working with an individual production company, like I work with some individual production companies. I've had the honor of working with Two Horizons directly, Bedtime Games directly. I've had the honor of working with actually three huge video game production companies. I've worked with people who are pitching their own animated shows for networks, but I'm only one person, right? And at the end of the day, here's the one big thing that you also get. Thank you. That's a very good point. As Javon Henry, when I reach out to somebody, I have to build that relationship. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? I love people, love building that relationship. It's a part of life. As CESD, as A3 agency, when you reach out to someone, you're not necessarily building that relationship. You ain't trying to sell them on anything. They know who you are. When A3 talent agency reaches out to Marvel, it's not hey, I'd love to work with you. Let's start a conversation. It's a hey, I'm A3 talent agency. What do you need? Okay, you need these two people. Here are these two people. And that trust is immediately there, even if they've never worked together before, because they understand that that is the agency that has that name and that prestige and that title behind it. So that is another huge benefit of working with an agency. You get to ride on the coattails of their name, their success. But once again, pros and cons for all of this stuff. And yeah, that's all I got for you. That's all I got for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed another episode of Artist Over Actor. If you have any questions, always reach out to me via email. Leave it in a question on one of the videos. And if you need any resources, they're always down in the send out for you below. I've got to go work with a client currently, so I am going to check out, and I will catch you guys next Monday for the next episode. Have a nice one, guys.